Friday. I had a pretty productive day. Rather well put together. I appreciate the fact that the Veterans Affairs system is working better than it has been in the past. And I definitely acknowledge that going into the Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk about Memorial Day in just a few days, so be prepared for that. But I want to have story time. I haven't had story time for my live broadcast in a long time. I've been doing top stories and trending news topics and things that just go on in my life. But I wanted to just give you a little bit of my fiction and see what you think. So here we go. It's called Smartystan. That's the series. The series of stories is called Smartystan. And this particular entry is called Beautiful Overwhelming Newness. Screens illuminated with the number of potential inhabitants. Dr. Covey Strong appeared at the data with an intent that bordered on obsession. His skin looked like acorns, and his sartorial essence showed with his blue pinstripe suit with a gray paisley tie and cowboy boots. His 60 years on this earth proved to suit him well, as he looked like he had just crossed the 40-year-old mark. As an economist, he wielded powers with number. What we can do is show the different people that they're welcome here. The president gave us this land to have as many intelligent people in one place as possible. Dr. Kasia Frampton interrupted. Her face looked like cut ebony. She wore a leopard shawl with black tights and red pumps. She boasted a master's degree in chemistry. A doctorate. I just noticed that. See, this is why I'm glad I do this. She's a doctor, so she may have a master's degree in chemistry and a doctorate in biochemistry. So I'm gonna just make that adjustment. Okay, let's clean that up. That's why we're doing it. That's good. That's good. All right, so yes, the entire state of Delaware is dedicated to brains. Vesting Go 30 observed. His yellow skin contrasted with his slate gray seat that he sat in the boardroom. He wore a white t-shirt, black jeans, and white sneakers. Go excelled as an expert music instructor who had become a maestro without more than an associate's degree from First State Community College. The various people that constituted the construction of an intellectual state had not been like Dr. Strong and Frampton. Most of them had dropped out of college, even high school. In time, they proved to be autodidacts, fascinating a world around them and devising an entire place reserved only for the smartest people in the world. This remained a contentious idea. Obviously, how many tests would they have to pass? What would become of the people left to the rest of the country? Would they forge their empires of thought? Strong, Frampton, and Go didn't have time. They had been selected amongst the other men and women spewing with ideas. I say we're ready to negotiate the terms of the state and present them to the President of the United States of America. He already knows we're serious about this. Let's put this machine in motion. Go quipped. Yes, but, Frampton started. But what? Go asked, rolling his eyes. I don't want it to be a wet blanket here, but we've got to consider the fact that just a few million people will occupy the state. Will we have walls put into place? Will we have armed guards? No, Strong and Go announced together. Go looked at Frampton. We're going to allow anyone to visit the place. Anyone will be allowed into the entrances. There will be no walls or barriers. Whoever wants to see family members who reside there can do so and do it freely. But residents will remain unless they choose to move. That's unlikely, though. Dr. Strong added to Go's words. Yes, we'll work out a pattern, a schedule that will determine how people will navigate through the cities and towns of Smartystan. So we're keeping the name? Dr. Frampton asked. I love it, Go exclaimed. It fits. It's right to the point and everyone knows what we're talking about. With everything we have heard, everything we know, this should be a triumph of social science and ability to craft an entire society based on intellect. This isn't a game or an amusement park ride, Dr. Frampton pointed out. You got it. That's exactly what it's not. It is a possibility. It's something to strive for, to hope for our future. An experiment of sorts. It will bring all colors, creeds, and other societal differences together. As we know, the Great Reckoning in the state of Delaware was the deciding factor in all of this. On a hot day in the middle of July, the citizens of the state of Pennsylvania attempted to reclaim portions of the first state. They failed. The president at the time looked at the clock on the wall. He declared at the hour of 8 o'clock in the morning for the people of Delaware to open its doors to the brightest minds in the world and revel in their triumph. Go looked at the doctors. All three shot their glances at 32-year-old Belinda Gummer as she entered. She wore a houndstooth suit with black patent leather flats. Her blonde hair and blue eyes and petite frame belied the brain encased in her head. She dropped out of college and started her own learned machines company and made billions. She smiled. So are we almost there? Has everything been finalized? She asked. Dr. Frenchman replied, we're almost there, Belle. Your input will be great. Let me see. I think there should be a lottery in place. Whoever wins gets a placement in the entire population of Thinkoralia. No, it's Smartystan again, Go corrected. Okay, I kind of like that one, actually. What is the best way to show that we're going to be the brain parents behind the revolutionary new place? Dr. Frenchman sighed. We've got your advertising firm still in place, right? Of course, Belinda said. We can incorporate the lottery into the commercials and permit those who get selected to be part of this beautiful, overwhelming newness. The four of them raised from their seats and shook hands. The others had been in conferences like this all around the state of Delaware. They walked with purpose and briskness. All of them. Some got into multi-$100,000 Golding sedans. Others found their way on skateboards, and still others walked. Their gait seemed sure, and they rattled off poetry to one another with every step. These men and women made up the entirety of transforming a state into a small country. Go remained one of those on a skateboard. He weaved and glided in and out of traffic with the carrying confidence of a gym cutter. Belinda laid back in the Golding and checked all of her messages and emails, and even had time to shoot some footage and tell the world the progress the Ultraminds had dreamed up in the past few days. She stopped making mini movies for her social networks and dialed her lawyers. Hey Lex, I just saw you on the internet, he said. Yes, that was just to blow up some steam. Now it's imperative that we continue to remain focused on the business aspects of all of this. I know that the various machines will be a staple and Smartystan. They're all going with that, Lex asked. Yeah, I like it. Anyway, we're going to need the signatures from the board members. They're going to be the ones who will be backing the increase in orders that I'm sure will take place once we deliver them. Roger. Belinda smirked and looked out the window. So that's the first story. That's the first entry in the stories. I gotta correct some things. I'm glad I had this chance to read it out loud. I guess I gotta read it out loud from now on. I've been told I should do that. I'll start doing that. But it's just such a, it's really, it is like, it's like, it's part of the gig, it's just part of the gig. Trying to get everything down right and getting the right pictures and and you have to do your own promotion, and more people don't really promote it that well, and people don't name it. They just want to watch it. You just get a top story one time and that's it, and it just doesn't go any further from that. It just becomes a headache. So, okay, we got a few people in the room. I'm gonna say hi. Hi, V-Dog, Jose Lopez. Hey yo, why you look like that from IG? I answer questions only $20. If you want your question answered, you have to send me $20. My Cash App is $SkylerSaunders1. Stream sideways, but I can't watch you on my TV when you stream up and down on your phone. That's just unfortunate. Look on your phone then. Don't look on your TV. Hey yo, really? Okay. Salute. I used to have my own yard with this beautiful tree grow. It looked a lot like a Negro. Okay. Psst. Okay, and Anonymous 59. Inspector Saunders, I see you. Well, salute to all of you. I appreciate you. If you want to ask a question about my stories or anything else, it's $20. That is the going rate. That is the going rate. $20. All right, so next story. This one's called Intact. Dr. Frampton peered down at her watch. She timed the opening of Smartystan precisely. The gleam from the pearly gates and streets of gold. The mansions all seemed to mean so much more because architects and engineers had to use exact measurements to craft such a majestic world. Belinda walked in with Dr. Frampton, Dr. Strong, and Go, trailed them at the main gate. As an entrance, it didn't feel too imposing and definitely not intimidating. With each step, the four of them reached closer to a promise kept. The country within a country looked absolutely delicious upon entry. Trees swayed in breezes, and meticulously sculpted lawns remained powerful reminders of how far the four of them had come to get to this point. I still don't like it, Go pronounced. It's not part of the original plan. It's too heavenly, he said. That was the idea. Have four atheists subvert the idea of a fantastic land such as it mentioned in ancient texts and bring it to life, Dr. Strong replied. I still think the original idea of a country that had a virtual feel to it with illuminated streets and buzzing schools would have been better, Go lamented. Veston, we can build other towns elsewhere. We're just unveiling what Newcastle County used to be. The two other locales we can explore. For now, though, we're going to focus on getting as many people inside of here, Dr. Strong continued. It's only the fact that I know of Kent and Sussex counties. I get it. I didn't forget. For a moment there, it seemed like you did, Belinda remarked. Go's corner of his mouth lifted. Okay. I submitted my designs for the beaches. I'm okay, he said. Come on. We should be training our attention on the folks who will be part of this revolution, Dr. Frampton reminded. Her mouth turned into a pearly gate itself. Yes, I feel like when I held my profession, just to see the bright minds of tomorrow walk through here. Just imagine the experiments and mistakes and triumphs after months of years of toil. Go looked at the chemist, and a bit of a glow appeared on his face. Belinda noticed this. Yes, we're putting our donors in trillions of dollars to enlighten, excite based on voluntary exchange instead of forced taxation. Dr. Strong nodded. If we can keep this country intact, we should have no problem with sieges or illegal aliens. Why? Because they would be welcome to the party. They'll come in inner tubes and dinghies from the sea and by land on all-terrain vehicles. In the air, they might use small planes. Who knows? It's enticing just to think of it. All of it will be in the name of supping up the knowledge expressed by the most intelligent people on earth. Dr. Strong always kept a hat on his head, and this was no exception. He walked with the three of them to the tune of a graduation march. At once light and airy, the note soared, stirring and crisp. It recalled in the doctor's minds, as well as Go's own graduations with Belinda, while Belinda couldn't relate. She considered the idea of how the former Delawareans have been paid billions of dollars to live elsewhere. Some of them didn't want the money, so they took the corporation that the four of them founded, Delaware, to court. The judge found the country to be admirable and delivered a win for the doctors, the associate's degree holder, and the dropout. She ran her business still in conjunction with their firm. While Dr. Strong leading with them all, a rush of power surged through his veins. He treaded on the gold and watched the sprinklers pop up like toaster pastries and water the lawns. Yes, if we can keep the country, we'll have a nation dedicated to intelligence, he informed them. The words touched the three of them in their souls. What seemed like a difference in how to contend with the influx of people made it impossible for them to understand that the doctor's wisdom shone through without ceasing. So, of course, they had to find a way to fight the idea of the traffic jam of people backed up for miles, yearning to get into Smartystan. A crash at one of the pearly gates gave the four a chill and a pause. Country Centuries, CS, all showed their preparedness for such an event and drove back the clashing individuals. The vehicle consisted of a mother and father and their young child. They had escaped the horrors of Iran. The information related to the four founders. We can't let them in, Belinda yelled. That's going to be something tough, Dr. Frampton replied. Yeah, I can't see them being accustomed to our way of life, Ghost said. Did you not hear what I just said? Dr. Strong became incensed. We're allowing everyone who has an iota of thinking power to their skulls. That's who we're letting in here. He received further information about the wreck that somehow did not damage the pearly gates. They're physicians. They only crashed because someone was heckling and acting aggressively towards them. That person will be rejected. This pair of thinkers and their child are exactly the kind of material that should be in this country. We should be thankful that they immigrated from a basket case of a nation and want to venture to our country. Dr. Strong went straight to the scene of the collision. The three of them looked at each other, shrugged, and followed him. A CS stopped the doctor. Sir, you don't want to be here. The situation is completely neutralized. Dr. Strong looked past him and motioned for the young physician couple. The mother cradled the child. He spoke in Farsi. He said, "You are welcome here. You may enter now." The CS knew what he said, but acted bewildered. The couple with the infant walked away from the crash site and met up with the four founders. Dr. Strong waved the band and asked to hold the child. Dr. Strong greeted them with an embrace. He pointed to the three other brain parents to this country with so much potential. They all smiled. This one is called Sand Clouds. Excuse me a moment. Oh my God. Jesus. Alright, Greg Ass is in here. On the bussy time. I did enjoy Rule of the Kingdom of the Air. Not gonna lie. I appreciate that. They're going back and forth at each other. Alright, so this is the next one. This one is called, like I said, Sand Clouds. A hand outstretched. Dr. Strong shook it. Mr. President, he said. Jesus Christ. How do I even... Let's keep it on there. Jesus, I know you're kidding now, President Glenn Goshen replied. I am. The two old friends laughed and sat. How does it feel to be president of a country in a country? Goshen looked suddenly solemn. They sat in the executive room on the 80th floor of the presidential skyscraper in what was Wilmington, Delaware. It became a refuge for them, a form of respite. Goshen rubbed his hands together, which looked like sand or birchwood. It's gray here. It's getting better day by day. As you know, there are some hiccups in the grand opening. That was to be expected, though. Dr. Strong admitted. Yes, of course. It's going into tonight's State of the New Nation speech. Don't tell anyone. We at least had no reports of casualties or fatalities, Dr. Strong pointed out. Goshen shook his head, yes, and just put his fingers together as if to pray, but showed no other indication of such an action. He stood rocked for a moment, envisioning what carnage had been prevented. Goshen motioned for some coffee for Dr. Strong. The economist waved, indicating he wanted none. The president brought one leg to the other and sipped coffee black. We were very fortunate. They're hailing a savior for aiding that young couple with a child. It had to be done, so I did it. It's as simple as that. If I didn't do it, there would have been a severely limited time spent with a mere indefinite curtailed nights of sleep. I did it for me. Congress wants to confer a medal for you. The first recipient of the Smartystan Individual Achievement Laurel. I'm just calling them the Smarties. Both men laugh. It's a hearty laugh. Oh my God. It was a hearty laugh that sent, wow, I'm just, some other, levity through the air once more. Tell me you're bringing Penelope to the ceremony this summer. Goshen's voice lifted like a child asking for a new bicycle. Of course, I keep her away, but she'd be too adept in devising an algorithm to prevent me from begging her to not attend the event with me. Goshen grinned. Ava's just waiting to see you and the boys. They're ready to see the rest of the first family, too. Goshen set down his coffee. Let's talk about it, Covey. All right. I was elected in a landslide by the people, and I secured this land. All we have to do is live here. But what does that entail? Most of the people living here have ideas for this place. I know. Well, we need to air out the discrepancies. Discrepancies? Dr. Strong's voice rose and his face crinkled. Yes, there are men and women who wish to do us harm, and we've got people that just want to make the next chip to put in a processor. I'm tasked with annihilating anyone who even shows an inkling of a threat, the full might of our military. These are just words. They are to be brought into reality. Yes, we must have a robust... I'm talking about completely crushing any and all attackers and destroying their spirit to make war, Covey. Absolutely, Mr. President. This experiment deserves the control, and that is our selfish, competent, and capable collection of men and women in uniform. Yes, I know you know numbers. I knew you back in before the academy. They stripped me of my doctorate if I didn't know them. So that's why I need you in my cabinet. You'll be afforded a hefty salary, more than the one they were giving you back at New Sweden. You'll be given full rights and privileges. I proudly decline, sir. What? President Goshen looked as if sand clouds formed and rained down grainy precipitation. But you want money. Hell, you're an economist. I'm fully aware. So why not take the position? Goshen asked. Dr. Strong sighed. Glenn, it's different. It's definitely nothing personal. It's just that I don't want to be a government official. The private sector treats me so well that I don't need to wonder what I'm going to say about the state of fiscal policies for the country or have concerns for the monetary policy. But you know that the tax revenue is for the cops, judges, and warriors, Goshen reminded his friend. No, the answer is no, Mr. President. I've got it in my mind to write more books and continue to teach when I can. Somehow Goshen didn't look dismayed. Actually, a sense of relief washed over his face. Okay. I'm removing my gloves and heading back to my corner. Dr. Strong smiled broadly. I will, however, be happy to see you gear up for re-election. Word is that the 6 opposing sides are already searching for a candidate even more laissez-faire than you. Goshen chuckled. You let me through this first one. I'll be more than ready to take on the next foe for when the season comes. That's right. I will ensure that you stay in the executive suite. Hell, Delacere will work for the whole campaign like we did to get you here. Goshen looked down at the cognac Oxford footwear. He peered back up and straightened his tie. He stood up. Dr. Strong shot to his feet. This is what the true free markets are about. I'm glad Delaware was converted to a country. I'm glad we're finally about to not only embrace but enjoy liberties never realized before. 2 burly men in black suits have been at the door and window the entire time. Carl, Maxie, could you give us a moment? The 2 men shot glances at each other. Then, yes, sir. The room belonged to the war buddies. You know, this is like when we were in the sandbox in the mountaintops, Goshen mentioned quietly. Some sadness creeped into his words. Yes, we were fresh out of the academy. Now look at us. I'm responsible for building the rest of the entire country, and you're commander-in-chief. Just look at what you can do. It'll be a shame you won't be along for the ride, but I'll always leave the door open for you. Let's make some corrections here. That door's just about to remain open, Curls. Caught Goshen's eye with a giant laugh. You haven't called me that in years. I'll forever be, they spoke in unison, Regulation Fro. Yes, but is it because of connection with each other? We were unable to keep going. Yes, but it is because of connection with each other. We were unable to keep going on the strength of our own resolve. Goofy ethnic nicknames were notwithstanding. President Goshen motioned for the 2 protectors to re-enter the room. You tell Penelope that she just missed being called the wife of the Secretary of Military Policy. I'll let her know. The two men hugged each other, and their faces turned upward to the photographer who had just been allowed in the room. How'd you guys like that one? Did you like that? Not sound clouds, sand clouds. Jesus, there's power in the name, brother. Okay. Now you're talking reckless now. Talking about some mystical bullshit. I'm looking for the stories now. Okay, this one's called Abilities. And I'm the only one that liked it. The men and women of average ability only look with their blank stares as if skeleton heads held eyes, but no other organs of or signs of life. You damn right it's blasphemy. I'm blaspheming the Holy Spirit too. And that's the one sin you can't be forgiven for. So I definitely blaspheme the Holy Spirit. Where's Rick James? Rick James, I have no clue where Rick James is. He's probably on dust somewhere with his girlfriend. I have no clue. Hopefully he's somewhere in his house having a good time. Off the water, off the rulers. off the dust juice. But anyway, the men and women of average ability only look on with blank stares, as if skeleton heads held eyes but no other organs or signs of life. What they did do, however, was organize chapters, sectors, and guilds. To keep them out of the nation within the nation, all the CS had to do was deliver them aptitude tests. They never passed. When some of them fought, got bloody-minded, and studied and still didn't achieve a satisfactory score, they looked at themselves and challenged the Board of Information Systematic Testing, BIST, to review their virtues. This was the most tangible of things to ascertain. Their virtue, honor, and morality meant something to them. The leader of the Average Capacity Association, Hector Vergara, spoke whenever he could. He mentioned the possibilities, endless as they might be. He looked like light-skinned, and his well-built beard and dark hair gave him a youthful appearance. It was just a table, no grand speeches or pontifications. The others leaned in as if to hear him better, and they knew better. And so I say to all of you, he spoke with authority at the small convention hall, packed with bodies from the door to the main floor. We might not be as smart, yet we can study and train and learn all there is to know about being amongst the gifted. This last line elicited an acidic rumbling of laughter amongst the group. A whoop arose like a siren in the night, clean and piercing and just as alarming. I say right now, that we will continue to use the web. And if you find yourself unable to grasp what the moon has to do with the tides, or why bees must do their little dance just so we can enjoy apples and other produce, let that be found in our children and their children and their children. This is no speech. Some laughter and applause descended on the occupants of the hall. I say this, we are brown, black, white, yellow, and red. We are focused on the goal of living on with intelligence. We already are. Smiles plastered the faces of the group. Some eyes gleamed, and some tears fell. Great creases folded in the faces like accordions of skin. The expressions of approval lasted for at least 8 minutes, with the occupants slamming their fists on the table. Chancellor Vergara pervaded the space. He got up from the table with a poise and powerful ease that befitted his position as a leader among men and women. Hector Vergara piled into a golden SUV. He served as a mechanic, but the dues paid by the ACA afforded him many luxuries. He yawned in the back seat. Doris, please take me to the Founders Rock. Yes, sir. Doris Anders then sent the vehicle to the destination. Vergara stepped down on the destination. Vergara stepped out of the car. Hold on. This is rough, raw, and rugged right now. Rough, raw, and rugged. Okay. He took hold of the magnificence of the structure. Rusty iron beams stood beside giant steel girders and entire pieces of wood that grew with an intensity that gave gravitas to such a noble collection of minds that constructed it, or who constructed it. Well, minds. The start of the piece where the founders had meant to pan out the remainder of the best ideas that escaped their brains. Vergara put a hand on one of the beams. The might of its structure reassured him that this was a righteous cause, despite nearly insurmountable tasks. He walked around the grounds. Sir, he stopped in his tracks. His back faced the voice. You're not allowed to be. The voice halted like a military formation. Oh, Mr. Vergara, I didn't mean. The boy couldn't have been more than 19 years old. His white face looked as pale as a lily. It's okay. You're doing your job. Yes, sir, the young man responded. His words seemed like a salute, leaving a great impression on the leader. I'll be out of your way now, and I'll be sure to let your manager know you need a raise. What's your name? Patty. Patty Denny. All right, I know your boss is Glenda Gilchrist. Yes, I'll keep my word. Vergara mentioned smile again, and just as soon as he had left just as soon as he had arrived. Dr. Frampton continued to count the amount of students she would have in her class. She found the number to be 60. After a few labs taken, some papers written, she would be glad to have take different aspects of the city of Cranium. She knew that there would be wonders to behold on her trek to greatness. Like Dr. Strong, their educational acumen matched their business sense. A synthetic assistant placed multiple tablets on the black and brown desk that would rotate 15 students at a time. 4 times a piece, it was a pie. Her intellect permitted her to challenge her pupils, except they always wanted to challenge her on everything but chemistry. When is the ACA going to break down the walls most of them built and terrorize us? Mackenzie Duncan asked. Her alabaster face reddened. Now there's the science of silence and also of rage. We will engage in the science of thought. If outside factions wish to threaten our way of life, that's what the president is for. Now, Mr. Goshen will ensure our safety and well-being. We've got to deal with the infrastructure experiments, respectively, at the moment. The students breathed. They donned lab coats and goggles. Their work, upon being reassured, consisted of making a way to derive fuels from the moon samples collected over the past few years. The conversion of the moon substance only boosts the efficacy of coal, oil, and natural gas. All right, class. The fuels that have been maligned, disrespected, and vilified will continue to power all this country along with these moon samples. This is a fact. That is a fact. The students looked at their brave leader with reverence and admiration. The doctor noticed all this. She soaked in all of the excitement of knowing that these fuels will carry men and women into Mars orbit one day. This delighted Dr. Frampton so utterly that she skipped a little when she walked behind her podium. Okay, that was abilities. Okay. Next, I'm going to look for the next story. Still looking for the stories. Don't worry, I'm still looking for the stories. This one's called Anagram. 3 people like this one, including myself. Alright, Veston Go fixed the bolts on the board. With complete concentration, he peered at the tiny pieces and worked the structure of the mode of transportation. As he finished, he sensed that glorious sensation of having completed something with aplomb. That rich aura of satisfaction washed over his entire body. Greg, I said, I'll pray for you. You pray for me. It doesn't make a difference. Not gonna. You're just saying words to nothing. But let me see. Washed over his entire body. He saw like a weight had been lifted from his soul. The shop boasted every style of fitness gear and various decks and other skating materials. All colors combined to make a panoply of hues. His phone rang. He noted the ID. Of course. He cleared his throat. Hi. Hello. How are you, Mr. Go? I'm well. I'm free to do an interview in about an hour. How about right now? This seemed like a journalistic ambush. Go motioned for one of his assistants, James Washington, to lock the door. Then he relented. Go made the unofficial international sign of come back with his hand. Delaware Channel 30 personnel soon poured into the space. Ida C. Harris, medium chocolate colored and standing at 5'10", towered over Go's slight 5'6" frame. He didn't, nevertheless, appear intimidated. Mr. Go, you have been made billions in cryptocurrency. Why do you spend so much time on skateboards? I'm focused on the markets, but I'm totally enamored by the boards. He felt like this could be puffier than he had anticipated. Now that you have the new landmass that once was the state of Delaware, how do you feel about the men and women of average ability who are trying to destroy and disrupt this oasis of intelligence? Wow, he thought. Maybe the puff piece was really a torrential rain cloud. My staff is of average to very good mental capacity. I would take them any day over the alleged thoughtful scoundrel. They are trustworthy and dedicated to reality and show their competence in everything they do. Ida smirked a bit. It was a clean little smile with edges of derision framing the corner of her mouth. So why aren't you living in this new promised land? It's simple. They didn't pass the test. Does that make them any less honorable? Of course not. I couldn't pass the test off the bat either, and neither could Covey. Dr. Strong? Yes, Go replied. The first time he failed, so did Melinda. But we obviously passed, but it's a toughie. During the interview, Go continued to polish the boards and fix the bolts, and Washington checked inventory. It was like the cameras didn't exist. It was like Go showed himself to be so entranced by this chance to keep the place running, to keep the blood pumping through the space. Again, Ida shot her another question. There has been a talk of people with middling mental efficiency still getting past those gates. What do you think about that? There are many ways people can get into the area. We're actually pretty lax. I know that it seems like an injustice for some people to have to take tests and others have only bypassed the various places of entry. Those who graduate past the exams have a greater amount of access to other places and activities in the new country. I think if you've fought this much, you deserve to be amongst the brightest minds from all over the world. They're not really concerned with the folks who also have lesser intellectual capabilities. It's only the ACA who has a problem. I just think they're mistaken. Ida bathed in the spectacular lighting and the pristine things up for sale. How many shops like this do you own? So far, this is the only one. Why is it still here? Why haven't you packed up and shipped all this stuff into the new country? Go snickered politely. I'm too selfish to let this place go. No pun intended. Selfish? Selfish how? I asked. I mean, I'm too full of myself that to have this shop nestled in the new nation will distract from the amount of spiritual essence I sense when I work. Here, crypto is my love, but this is my passion. Ida stood on her toes and motioned for her crew as she wanted to rap. Any final thoughts? Absolutely. Everyone of low, average, or high intellectual capacity can visit Go With It board shop. We even have a half pipe in the back. Thank you for your time, Mr. Go. It was a pleasure to point out to the point of ecstasy. Ida's eyes grew wide, then she chuckled. She turned to face the exit. Go grinned. She felt like he had delivered answers that shouldn't be edited or distorted. The smooth touch of the underbelly of the board felt like glass to the touch. What was all that? Washington asked. You'll see it on the 11 o'clock news. Come on, tell me. All right, I said. I'm saying on the outskirts of Delaware to sacrifice my life for all you of your workers. Yeah, right. No, seriously, I just said I'm not selling. Crypto made a billionaire. Crypto made me a billionaire, and I'm going to support the new country as well as the already established pleasure centers like the one in which we stand. Washington's face looked peculiar, like something both annoyed him and amused him at the same time. Like in a video game where a player finds himself stuck on a level or a phase in the game. Then he laughed lightly. Cool. He then returned to the mini indoor park and practiced the advanced move, the ultra lift. Go continued to watch the markets as well as the clientele, which marched in with hopes of not just grinding tricks on his half pipe, but engaging with ideas. He wanted it too. To see faces of kids from 6 to 66 wanting to know the ways of the board for a brief lesson in how to best invest in various currencies on the blockchain. A euphoric sense shot through him. He felt light and airy as if he had been intoxicated. He, yet, was as sober as a traffic cop. While he could watch the customers debate over prices, he closed down his shop on the web, where he earned a cool $8 million in one day. Once again, a smile crept onto his face. He placed the helmet on his head and pads on his knees after the last customer left and locked the door and everything else. He called his girlfriend, Anna Singh. Show's over, he said to her. They interviewed you too? That's right. We must play, Anna said. She arrived in similar gear. Upon locking the door behind her, the couple found each other and kissed. Let's see some aerials that actually lead to a landing with you, she said with a smirk. You know, I was just about to tell you that. The back door swung open and then shut. Still looking for stories. Am I in here? Doesn't look like a lot of lot of movement. That's okay. I have rebroadcast. There are 0 people right now watching this broadcast, but that is okay. It does not deter me at all. This one is called The Intellect. This particular show. 3 people like it, including myself. Hector Vergara enjoyed his French onion soup. As he finished the bowl, a slight slur came from his lips. He scrolled down through the news on his phone. The story about how he could possibly shut down an entire newly formed country struck him like a piano note. His eyebrows raised and he sighed. It was an aspiration of approval. This is why I do it. Because I just send it out. I'm going to start reading. This is crazy. It was out of exasperation and approval and a commitment to his life's work. He got up and paid his bill. Without considering the fact he could be targeted at any moment, he experienced a chilly suspicion that he may be on someone's hit list. While in the SUV, he continued his odyssey of reading through the media and looked at his face plastered all over the internet. The rumblings of hatred and malcontent seemed to roar in his head. He considered his family. His wife, Alejandra, and daughter, Lucia, remained probably more protected than he. This comforted him. briefly. The pains kept coming back. If something awful would have happened to him, he would find whoever perpetrated against them and probably thank them. Do good to those who hate you. With this in mind, still he did not seem happy. In fact, he never seemed to so in an unmitigated sense. His state of being tried to strip him of any pretense. Speeches and all sorts of engagements and press runs all coalesced into a tiny battle of indifference. He didn't feel the hatred of those who didn't understand his cause. Patience granted him the chance to see things with a clear-eyed view. Oh, no, I'm watching. Oh, I'm glad one person's watching. I appreciate it. Who is that? MS Doom? Appreciate it. Salute to you. Tell 12 other people, but don't tell 13 people. Let the 13th person wonder, who's that goofy nigga with the hat and the shirt and the gold tie? Just tell, as many people as you can. Just spread the word. That's all. I'm not even asking for money. Just it costs you nothing to share. Share on your social media, share on stuff like that. I appreciate it. Back to the story. Speeches and all sorts of engagements and press runs all cool. Okay. He didn't feel the hatred of those who didn't understand his cause. Patience granted him the chance to see things with a clear eye. Okay. Most of the touring energized him. He was famous enough in certain circles, whilst largely never heard of in others, hence the diner stops. The people lived on the outskirts of the new country. Vergara knew this to be true. As he looked out of the window, he saw the faces change. All shades dotted the portrait. They cheered when they saw him as motorcade. Volumes kicked in even higher at his door, so open to claps and shouts. With a megawatt smile, he fastened his suit button and ventured into the venue. Leisure time became Vergara's goal. He found his seat on the floor of a boxing match. Sports always kept him attuned. Football and boxing emphasized metaphorical positions in the world. He knew in order to play the former, you had to keep your compatriots in line. The latter brought into perspective the notion of move or get punched in the nose. As the fight continued, he didn't smile. Nothing in his face said joy. He gritted his teeth like he was grinding on a bone. Finally, the fight ended. He netted a cool $2 million. The money, of course, did not belong to him, but to any slack-jawed, parasite-ridden louse he could consider. The average man of ability, like any other, thought of the poor, needy, malnourished, and flea-bitten as kings and queens, and anyone of the avant-garde, they even refused to capitalize their moniker, must take care of those lacking ability or remain limited in some way. If a beggar asked him for a nickel, he wouldn't automatically give it to him. For Vergara, the vagrant had to prove somehow his inability to continue on from there. If Vergara could ascertain when the deficiency could warrant his money, he grinned and offered hundreds, even thousands of dollars. He didn't mind it, but because it wasn't his money to begin with, knowing that he could only be selfless, but he had the power over another life. The rush of understanding that he could have this kind of control boosted his egotism, but he knew not what being an egoist entailed. Somewhere, driven down in his mind in adolescence, suddenly pushed back by years of struggle, continued to drive him. Vergara kept coming back again and again in the same fact that he possessed advanced skill, but he didn't have the smarts to challenge the big questions of the ideas that came from the intellect. He relied on the simple form of logic, common sense. He took him no time to realize this was in fact a virtue. He, however, still had a sneaky vaporous notion that it was never enough. His parents often encouraged Vergara to gain insight in the world from books, yes, but in human interactions with all over the world. Common sense carried him from Zurich to Zimbabwe. He soaked in the cultures, yet there was still something amiss. Common sense was a treasure, but it failed to show its luster in manners of great magnitude. Vergara journeyed to the next Veterans Hall. His swagger remained undeniable. Fresh from the match, he looked well put together and sharp. His mouth felt grainy and metallic, and a metallic acidic taste pervaded his mouth. He did nevertheless take to the stage and grabbed the mic. He rocked the crowd. At a hotel room adjacent to the hall, Vergara wept uncontrollably and almost unceasingly. Cries to himself ruled the hour. He was shaken and ashamed. He knew he had a modicum of ability that he could not express his superior skills of thinking and writing and computing. He'd be a man in a wasteland with no hope for an oasis. His tears rolled down his cheeks in tiny rivulets. He looked at himself in the mirror. The struggle to keep a new identity as someone with extraordinary ability, masquerading as a man with limited gifts, led Vergara to forever cast doubt on himself. Depression set in and he reached for his pills. He popped two and sipped water. The inner fight became an all-out brawl for his soul. Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. Now I want to speak for his soul. He could speak, and he was the ultimate representation, of course. To be called someone of superior ability to his opinion and music, it certainly would be an affront to his constituents. After the prescribed drugs took effect, Vergara cried his last tear for the night and shook off his lamp. He would need every ounce of sleep to continue with the challenge of the next day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just a few of the stories I have prepared. They're currently on Vocal.Media. So just like search for Vocal.Media. I just lost a subscriber. I had 569, I had 568. I guess because they didn't like this story. That's fine. These stories. So catch these stories. I'm gonna try to do this every Friday. So be prepared, get ready, and always look out for more of these tales from Skyler Saunders scene. So thank you very much. Take care.